Okay, let's dive in. You know the image, right? That classic white, blue, red, and yellow robot, the RX-78-2 Gundam from the original 79 series.
Absolutely iconic, hard to miss. One of the most famous mechs ever, really.
Totally. But here's something maybe a bit nerdy, a small detail. What if adding just one tiny digit to its name, just a zero, changes, well, everything about its story?
It sounds like just a model number tweak, doesn't it? RX-78-2 versus RX-78-02.
Yeah, exactly. Like a typo.
But it's not. That
Yeah.
single zero, it's actually a huge clue. It signals a whole different path, a different timeline in the Gundam universe, especially when we talk about this alternate series, Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuX.
Right, GQuuuuuX. And that's what we're digging into today, how this tiny numerical difference points to completely different versions of the universal century and what it means for the reality we see in GQuuuuuX.
So let's start with the legend itself, the RX-78-2, the star of the original Mobile Suit Gundam back in 1979. It was the Federation's secret weapon, part of Project V. Amuro Ray, just a kid, basically stumbles into
But
it.
then side seven,
Yeah.
right?
And suddenly it's the key mobile suit against Zeon in the One-Year War. Changed everything.
And its gear was pretty standard for the time. Well, standard advanced, I guess. Head Vulcans, beam sabers.
Two beam sabers, yeah. The beam rifle, the shield,
Yeah.
the classic loadout.
And the name RX-78-2, it breaks down neatly.
It does.
Yeah.
RX tells you it's a Federation experimental type. 78 is the design year. Universal Century 00078.
And the meaning too?
Simply means it was the second unit they built. Straightforward.
Okay, so that's the classic. Now, where does the zero come in?
That comes from Mobile Suit Gundam, the origin, which is, it's a retelling, a reimagining of that original 79 story, first as manga, then animation.
And it's fantastic, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. But while the main story feels familiar, lots of details are different, including the Gundam itself.
Ah, so the Origins Gundam is the RX-78-02, that specific designation.
Exactly. It still looks like the Gundam we know, same core identity, but the design has subtle changes, and crucially, it often has more weapons from the get-go.
More weapons? Like what?
Well, you see things like an optional shoulder cannon sometimes, or extra guns mounted in the chest, even stuff on the forearms, especially in its early type look in the origin.
Gotcha. So it's beefier, in a way.
Kind of, yeah. And that UDAX in '02 became the official way, for fans, for model kits, everything, to say, this is the origin version, not the original 79 RX-78-2.
Okay, clear distinction. RX-78-2 is classic 79, RX-78-02 is the origin. So GQuuuuuX, how does it connect?
Right, GQuuuuuX, this is where it gets really interesting because GQuuuuuX takes place in yet another timeline, an alternate universal century.
And the fact that its main Gundam is the RX-78-02.
Tells you immediately which branch it came from. Its history diverges based on the Origins version of events, not the original 79 series.
And what's the big split? The key event?
It's a huge one. In the GQuuuuuX timeline, Char Aznable, the Red Comet, actually succeeds in capturing the RX-78-02, the White Gundam, during that first attack on Side 7.
Whoa, okay. In the original, Amuro gets in and fights him off. But here, Char gets it.
He gets it, and the fallout from that, massive. It completely flips the script on the One-Year War.
Meaning
Zeon wins.
Zeon wins the One-Year War because they got the Gundam.
That's the premise of GQuuuuuX. Capturing that one prototype changes the entire course of the war. Zeon comes out on top.
Wow. Okay, so what happens to the captured Gundam, the O2?
Well, it's got this interesting design in GQuuuuuX, credited to Ikuto Yamashita. You might know him from Evangelion. It's based on the NX-02, but looks more skeletal, industrial, maybe cluttered.
So it already looked a bit different, even in Fetty colors.
Yeah, before capture, it had its beam rifle, bazooka, shield, the usual Federation look. But then Char gets his hands on it.
And knowing Char.
Exactly. He modifies it, upgrades it, repaints it red, naturally. And it becomes his personal machine, the GMS Red Gundam.
gMS-α. Okay, new designation. What does that mean? And what upgrades?
The upgrades are significant. It gets bits, those remote weapons guided by psychic powers, and an alpha psychoma system to control them.
Right.
Zeon tech, basically integrated into the Gundam frame.
Makes sense. If Zeon won, they'd push their own tech like Psychomia?
Right, and the GMS prefix. That probably stands for something like Gundam Mobile Suit, but under a new Zeonic classification system. It shows they've absorbed and adapted the Federation's Gundam tech after their victory. The Alpha likely refers to the type of Psychomia system.
And other suits in GQuuuuuX use this GMS.
Yeah, you see it elsewhere, like the main character, Machu, pilots the GMS GQuuuuuX. So it seems like a standard prefix in this altered Zeon-dominated timeline.
So it really all circles back to that single digit. The difference between Namida 2 and Namida 2 isn't just cosmetic, it's a signpost,
It really is. It points to a different design philosophy, a different initial setup,
which allows for a different outcome in a key battle.
which leads to a totally different war result, a different future, different technology, a whole alternate universal century, all from adding a zero.
It's fascinating how deep these connections run in Gundam lore. Digging into these kinds of details, that's why we do this deep dive.
Absolutely. There's always something more under the surface.
And hey, if you enjoy peeling back these layers with us, make sure you subscribe so you catch the next exploration. We'd love to have you along.
Definitely.
You know, it really makes you think, doesn't it? If just one number can signify a whole different reality in a story, how many tiny, seemingly insignificant details are out there in our own world that might, if they were just a bit different, point to a vast, unseen alternate history?
That's quite a thought to end on. Makes you look closer at things.